What if I told you you could be leaving hundreds, maybe even thousands of dollars on the table, and you could switch that around and bring that money into your bank account by looking at one part of your business? Seems hard to believe, but in today's video, I'm going to show you by looking at one area of your business how it could change everything, including the amount of money you are taking home into your personal pocket. If you are new here, thank you so much for joining us. I wanted to introduce myself. My name is Katrina. My business partner Cheryl and I run and own Empower to Profit, where we help business owners just like you help put more of their business profit into their personal pocket. So let's go ahead, jump into today's video and see if we can make that happen for you. Okay, so what was that one thing I was talking about that could change everything, and it's something that sounds super magical and unicorn-like? Well, it's not. It's a part of business and it's not a secret, but I don't want you to freak out when I say the word. The thing that could change everything is overhead. Now, don't get nervous, don't get overwhelmed. I know this is something that can come across as complicated, or you don't really know what it means when you try and actually dig into it, but that's what we're going to explore today really quickly, very simply, so you know how to understand it and you can make a change today in your business when it comes to the overhead. So the word overhead tends to get a bad or a scary rep. Kind of similar to when we bring up the word KPI, it can become a little overwhelming, or business owners' eyes glaze over and they're like, oh, I don't know, or my business isn't big enough, I don't have to worry about that yet. But I promise you, this is a part of business that you want to look into when we're discussing overhead right from the beginning. So when you're looking at your business right from the beginning, you can promise to yourself and know for certain that you are making a profit in the business, and you don't get a couple years down the road when you can look back and say, I used to be making money, but now that I've actually grown, I'm not making money anymore, and I don't know what happened. This helps you tackle it from the front end, from day one, so you can make the change, make the adjustment, or pivot if you need to today, so you can make more money. Okay, so let's dig in. So what is overhead? Overhead really is just a group of expenses that's not directly related to the direct cost of an expense or product that you're selling in your business. So expenses like rent, utilities, marketing, attorneys, accountants, anything like that that's not directly related to the service that you're providing, that's going to be your overhead. The easiest way, I think, to explain this is if we put it in an example. So let's say you are a med spa owner. So you provide services such as facials, injections, things of that manner. So let's say you're providing a facial that costs $100. And of that $100, if we're looking at the expenses side of that, let's say 40 of those dollars are directly related to the injectable itself. So it costs you $40 just for the injectables for one service or for one client. Now, in addition to that $40, let's talk about the employee that you're paying to do the injectable. So you're paying that employee $30 for that service. So let's say we're paying them $30 an hour. They're seeing one client per hour. So you have that $40 of all the magic potions and lotions that you're putting in the injectable, and then plus the $30 for what you're paying your employee. So that puts us at $70. So it costs you $70 to provide that service, and you're charging the customer $100. So easy math says that you're making a $30 profit, right? Unfortunately not, because something that was forgotten to be factored in was the overhead costs of the business. So remember, all of the utilities, the rents, all of the other things, your softwares, your merchant fees, all the things that aren't directly related. So the magic potions and lotions, all of the other things were not factored into that price. So even though it might feel like you're making a profit of $30, you have to factor in those other expenses as well. So my gal pal business owner starts seeing, like, as she's going on through business, she should be making $30 in profit per service, but she can tell by looking at her bank account, something's not quite lining up. So she decides to kind of hit pause for a minute, pull her profit and loss report, and start digging into the financials to kind of see what's happening. And upon looking at the numbers, she finds out that it actually cost her $50 in overhead per service that she wasn't working into the price. So while she was charging $100 per service, it was actually costing her business $120 per service. So she wasn't making $30 per service. She was actually losing $20 on every client. So you can see how this can drastically impact a business. So once she made the appropriate changes and adjusted her pricing, or maybe cut out some of the overhead expenses she didn't need, it totally and completely changed the profit amount of what she was bringing into the business. Not really even at just in a lump sum at the end of the day, but per customer. So you can see how that one change, when it starts to compound service over service, month over month, it can drastically change the profit margin of your business. In closing, you can see how really understanding your overhead can really take your business from a net loss to a net positive. How it can completely change the profit of your business, where you're not only covering all of the expenses, but now you're actually making a profit at the end of the day. And just as a little nugget of info, the target mark for when you're looking at overhead is you want it to be 35%, and that can be dependent on industry, but 35% is kind of the general number when you're looking at an overhead percentage. And keep in mind that when you're using that percentage, that isn't factoring into a profit percentage as well. That's just to cover the expenses of the overhead. So don't forget that when you're pricing your product, you want to price in profit as well, not just covering the expenses. And the best tip of all is, remember, when you have a low overhead, it gives ample opportunity for a bigger profit margin, which means more money in your personal pocket. Hope that was helpful. Hope it was simple. If you have any questions, go ahead and comment below. I love this conversation. We love to help business owners make as much money as they can for them, their families, because when we start influencing our families and communities, that's when we can change the world. And as always, cheers to profit.